Hey kids, it's time for another exciting episode of KWJUDAS.
I'm still alive tonight. Comforting me sometime. Pardon me as I approach the roach. Light the stage as I hit the door. Sneak a pick on the freak cause I want some more. Get a feeling then to see cause I got place to go. Uptown, eastbound, gonna dedicate the road. I got nothing to lose, I got place to go. So it's plain to see I gotta be at the show. Won't bother me if you just don't go. Hit the switches, I enter the quest. Exit left as I arrive at the decks. Next stop is the place I love the best. Turn the lights down low as we execute the fest. The best of the best, the rest took a rest. Exhausted from the interstate, travel less. What a mess, I confess. If not for this moment, there wouldn't be a test. Test. I'm still alive tonight. Comforting me sometime. Won't be a big surprise. Cause I'm still alive tonight. Back and forth with no hesitation. The monster on the mic, it's a deadly invasion. Looks to the east and rise in conversation. Number one, with much motivation. Coherent, apparently, I test the observation. Leads to new, profound information. Relevant to express, inspire a nation. Anytime, any place, any day, anywhere. I got the keys, so don't despair. Every time I split, I see you down there. What's the matter? Can't explain, I can't compare. Sharing the experience of life affairs. Time and time again, I got to beware. I take care, steady the approach, and pay the airfare. Where would I be without the rare possibilities? Enough's enough, I'll take you there. I'm still alive tonight. Comforting me sometime. Won't be a big surprise. Cause I'm still alive tonight. I'm still alive tonight. Comforting me sometime. Won't be a big surprise. Cause I'm still alive tonight.
Well, that was Captain Dane-O on KWJUDAS Free Radio Provo, and oh my God, I've been trying to get this guy on my show for a fucking while. How's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm ultra stoked, if that's a thing.
That's a thing.
I'm ultra stoked right now. Hang on just a second. All right, I'm calm. I'm good. I was about to freak out. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Captain Dane-O, you're from Salt Lake or Ogden?
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you originally from Salt Lake? A Utahn?
I'm a Utah.
A native?
Yep. Up north of Salt Lake in a little town called Bountiful.
Bountiful. Shit. To me, everything north of Salt Lake is Ogden, man. I'm sorry. And I'm pretty sure to most people that don't live down here, everything south of Salt Lake is fucking Provo.
Yeah.
So here we are in Provo. We're technically in Gumpson, Utah, which is a little podunk town nobody knows about, and we're totally fine with that. But Bountiful, Where is that in relation to Ogden?
It's a lot close. It's like the next thing from Salt Lake. There's North Salt Lake and then Bountiful.
I was just up there last night fishing at Willard Bay, getting my ass kicked and not catching shit.
Yeah.
Do you know where Willard Bay is at?
I do. Yeah, that's a lot further.
So where is
north.
that in relation?
That's closer to Ogden. Yeah, that's. I mean, literally right after Salt Lake is Bountiful, so it's almost like a suburb of Salt Lake.
Word. Pretty hardcore music scene up there.
No.
In Bountiful?
No, there was a lot of. Well, there's good musicians there, but Salt Lake was where most of the musicians would go play. It's what they call a bedroom community. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means there's no businesses there. Everybody leaves there to go to work. Yeah, it's really weird. It was really nice, right up next to the mountains. So
I would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you see any little critters frolicking in your yard when you wake up in the morning?
Yeah, we weren't right next to the mountains, but yeah, I'm sure.
Well, then what the fuck are you paying rent for?
Well, I got out of there as soon as I could and came out to Salt Lake, but.
Word. Where there's all sorts of critters frolicking in your yard.
Yep.
They might be a bit destitute, and they might be looking for substances that you don't have. But they are interesting little critters, aren't they?
Yep.
I like to go people watching sometimes in Salt Lake. It's a little scary sometimes, actually, but
Yeah.
We practice around 4 South, 4th West-ish, and
I have a rehearsal spot there too. The Positively 4th Street.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nice place. I like
Yeah,
it.
it's
For
very cool.
anybody out there, it's a nice place,
Yeah.
and that goes to anybody out there.
Yeah, it's I
That
like
includes you.
I like that you can go and be as loud as you want at 3 a.m.
Nah, but dude, so I'm weird. I like weird shit. I was just up there, like 2 nights ago? Like a block down, there's that little corner market. And then a block up, and then a block over, I discovered a big row of abandoned apartment buildings. They're all getting demolished.
Yeah.
One of them's already halfway demolished, and I had just gotten out of a show, and I guess I didn't really feel like I was quite done yet for the night. I don't know how I just wound up driving past these things, but it immediately struck my attention and was like, I must stop my car. Do you know where I'm talking about?
I don't, but I know they're basically reshaping that whole downtown area. They're tearing stuff down and building it as
Yeah, it
fast
looks-
as they tear it down.
Like a lot of stuff is just getting demolished right
Yeah.
now, and I'm kind of a sucker for abandoned buildings and just creepy shit.
Yeah, they look
And it was
cool.
fucking creepy. Just like driving past, I was like, "Whoa!" Just rubbernecking, and I had to circle around a few times. Like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? Do I? Yes, I do. And so yeah, I parked my car. It's probably like after midnight, and of course there's fences and no trespassing signs, but they are not very well kept. I mean, there's an alleyway where the fences are down, and I could just pretend I didn't see any signs. You can go right down the alleyway. So,
Yeah, we used to, as the youth, we would go out to Salt Lake, and there was abandoned buildings, and we would get up to the roof and hang out and on the roofs and
man.
just watch the stars. And we were.
I don't think you could have made it to the roof on these ones.
Oh yeah.
I would love to have, and I kind of want to go back, but I made it right around the corner of the alleyway. And I mean, I ain't a scared motherfucker. I don't need to go to church. First thing I see right when I turn around the corner is a dude hunched over. Don't know what he was doing, but it's like,
He was praying.
of course, you're kind of like, ghosts and shit, you know? And then, like, you first turn around and there's just a dude, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Just keep walking. Don't say anything. He saw you, for sure, and you just keep making your way down this dark alleyway. I didn't even have a light. I had the light on my phone, and you want to start thinking creepy stuff. You're like, okay, ghosts and phantoms and Sasquatch and every broken window and broken doorway I walk past, that is not what's going through my head. I'm thinking there's going to be a squatter leaping out of me with a shank.
Yeah, could.
With every step I take, it just got more and more uneasy and more like, I don't think that there's an end to this alleyway. And I just start walking quieter and slower, and all it takes is for me to just nudge one little piece of debris that scratches across the sidewalk. Of course, I have no indication that there's anybody in any of these rooms as I'm walking past every one of them. I don't really need one. I can tell I've been heard. You just get that feeling.
Right.
Like, it's up. There's not even a point in trying to be sneaky right now. If there's anybody anywhere around here, they know I'm here. And plus, I just walked past a guy within my first, 7 steps. I don't know if they got some kind of alert or, I don't know if they, I'm sure that they communicate somehow. So I'm already detected. And I was like, if you got balls, you could at least make it to the end of this alleyway. Fuck. I guess I only have one testicle, folks, because I made it about halfway down that dark alleyway. And I got my phone out. I got my flashlight, or the light on the phone, and I tried to just, make it face the side of me as I speed walk back down this alleyway. So maybe that film catches something out of my peripheral vision as I'm walking out. And I don't know if it did, because apparently the video got lost. Maybe I didn't hit record. I don't know. But right as I walked past the other little corner where the guy was sitting there, he gets up and follows me out, and he starts, I don't know what he was saying to me, but I was just like, oh, yeah, I'm just passing through. Kind of, what do you say?
Yeah.
What were you doing there? You've got all the answers for if a cop stops you. You do not have all, and you even are prepared, if you're stopped by a ghost or a phantom or a Sasquatch even. But just a random guy who's just there and seems like he isn't weirded out by being there. He's weirded out by you being there.
Yeah.
That makes things a lot more just I need to go.
Yeah.
Bad right now. And the fact that this guy is walking behind me and getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm just kind of oh yeah, this place is creepy and get away from me.
Well, at least you got out of there.
I did, but I want to go back. I want to go back
now that you felt it.
A little bit of a better idea, better understanding.
They might have the building torn down already.
Yeah, really.
It's pretty insane how quick they tear stuff down and rebuild it.
I probably had just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have actually gone in there and checked some stuff out. And it is a new show that I'm considering doing. I want to actually go out and do some, not exactly ghost hunting, but just exploring places most people wouldn't dare go.
Yeah.
And it will entail a little bit of, I guess, what some people would call ghost cunting.
That's a different episode.
We'll do that in the future, I'm sure. But no, I mean, I know of some pretty freaky places, and I have seen some pretty freaky shit. And now that I'm being way more active on YouTube, it's why not bring this to the people?
Yeah.
And if I could have actually made it through there, I mean, even running into a homeless guy with a shank, that's scarier than running into a ghost. Running into a ghost is a little more hard to explain, but which would you rather run into?
Yeah, probably a ghost.
Mm-hmm. If a ghost has a shank, it'll go through you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're not going to get hurt.
Right.
What is the worst to go? A poltergeist can maybe move stuff in the room, maybe throw something at you. I'm afraid of no ghosts.
Is that a plug?
Yes, it's a plug for the next song, A Long Time Ago.
All right.
By Captain Dane-O here on KWJUDAS. Because, as you all know, Captain Dane-O specializes in the paranormal.
This is true.
Is it?
Sound-wise.
He is a paranormal sound expertist. So without further ado, this is A Long Time Ago by Captain Dane-O on KWJUDAS. Hey, we can edit that out, right? Yeah, we can. Thank you all for listening. KWJUDAS Free Radio Provo.
It's a A long time ago, before the winter, before the fall, a long time ago, days went by so slow. A long time ago, before the sunshine on your soul. Do you remember those summer days? All the laughter, all the play. Never wanna leave there. Never wanna leave that home. Never wanna leave there. Never wanna leave that home. A long time ago, before the sunshine on your soul. Oh, time will change most everything. It's hard to say now how it all began. It was a long time ago, before the winter, before the fall. A long time, a long time, a long time, a long. Feels like yesterday, where we were, I can't say. Seems like a fantasy. I never wanna leave that place. Never wanna leave it. I never wanna leave that place. Never wanna leave it. Summer don't wanna come again. A long time ago, before the winter, before the snow. A long time ago. Do you remember how you told me so? It was a long time ago. Long time ago. A 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 long time ago.
Thank you.
Captain Dane-O on KWJUDAS. Most eloquent performance, I'd say.
If I do say so myself.
So you recorded this entire album yourself, did you not?
I did, yeah. It was quite the experience.
How long ago was this?
It was released in 2015, and I did most of the work in like 13 and 14.
So it took you about 2 years
Yeah.
to self-produce this whole
Yeah.
work that we are hearing.
Yep.
Word. So we were talking a little bit earlier about just like self-produced stuff. And like I hate to just like ask questions that I've already asked you, but whoever the fuck is listening right now, they don't know what we were talking about earlier. We were
Right.
talking about all sorts of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like things that you guys would totally cancel the show over, like heresy against, I don't know, Metallica and Elvis and
Yeah.
Jimmy Morrison
Those are all good topics, too.
or
so.
Paige or whatever the fuck. I've already heresied. But on the note of you recording your own album, fuck all those other guys. Bunch of rich kids they were. This guy, he grew up without a dime, destitute and impoverished, wearing cloth diapers.
That's actually quite accurate.
Oh, wow, that was a guess. You had cloth diapers too?
I think so. I can't really remember that far back.
Man, I remember cloth diapers and plastic pants like it was Tuesday.
But yeah, I lived in a garage for a while, and that's where I started recording and stuff, and so it was kind of brought from the streets of nowhere.
That's gangsta.
Yeah.
That's what you should have named the album. Straight off the streets of nowhere. It's probably been taken. What was the name of this album anyway?
Monster in the Attic.
Monster in the Attic. I like that too.
Yeah.
The Addict.
The Addict.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind that, if there is one?
I mean, I guess everyone's kind of addicted to this and that, and there's usually a monster inside of that addiction, And, it could be a friendly monster.
As I slurm the sauce, I should not be slurming. That's the monster. It's a Mississippi mud. It's ferocious,
Hey,
folks.
Mississippi mud monsters are the bomb.
Really, if I had to pick a beer to be a monster, it would be the Mississippi mud.
Correct.
Fear the Mississippi. I mean, look at that fucking thing. There's an alligator on it. And you can't find these that easily around here anymore.
I believe that.
But yeah, the main program that you say that you use, we were kind of talking about preferred DAWs, and me being someone that's trying to get into this, and possibly some of our listeners as well, for, what do you call it, the novice of home recording engineer, especially if you, did you ever go to school for it?
No, I learned it all by the seat of my pants. I had some good friends that were, much better at all of it than me, and they gave me pointers and stuff at first. But
that does help.
Oh, it helps a lot. But then you kind of got to pick it up and go with it, and
right.
So years of sitting in the seat and deleting stuff and re-recording and kind of chasing your tail, and but sometimes you get too much into chasing your tail and you just got to put something out, and so yeah,
you can't be too much of a perfectionist, especially when you're just getting started. Because I don't know about you, but me, I'll have some stuff that I will think is really not awesome, but pretty good, maybe good enough to at least have someone master it.
Right.
I'll go back and listen to it 6 months later and just think, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Right.
And just in that 6 months of just refining your own know-how and your own abilities, you'll go back and pick up a project that you sort of left off not even that long ago, and just look at the levels and look at the where everything's peaking.
And that's why you almost just need to put it out, because if you don't, you'll never put anything out, because
that is also true.
Yeah, you'll just keep trying to chase that elusive better than the last thing, and so you just put it out. And I mean, if you look at a lot of history of bands, you see the evolution of recording as their talent gets better and better, and maybe they get better engineers to work with and stuff. And you see those early garage sounding recordings, and then you get the third album and it's all polished, and so there's an evolution to it. And I actually think a lot of people, including myself, appreciate that, watching that growth,
Right.
Yeah.
Not everybody even acknowledges that as a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just kind of expect
Yeah,
every fucking musician who's ever made a fucking record is
Yeah.
just gonna be like batshit gold.
right off the bat.
And-
yeah.
yeah,
It doesn't
because
happen like that.
Whatever your favorite band is just always sounded awesome because their debut, they had a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
And you may not even be aware of all the previous shitty recordings they released before that album.
For sure. Yeah.
They don't even want you to
They
hear.
don't want you to know, yeah.
Man, and I even got some recordings of some bands. Because, dude, I've been booking shows for a long fucking time around here. And, like, let's just say Neon Trees.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows those guys.
Yeah.
I can remember, fuck me, I was a telemarketer when they got big, and I had booked them back when they were nobodies.
Yeah.
Back at, this coffee shop I ran called Steamers.
Mm-hmm.
They were more of an opening act,
Right.
and they were getting like attention quick enough that probably by the end it was like, okay, we could probably have you guys headline and I'll find some opening acts. But Steamers was a puny little venue. Even a headlining act, we're lucky if you bring 100 fucking people in this little coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I got a demo from those guys. I'm still debating on whether I should put it out or if I would get in any trouble for it, or I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if even they were just like, holy shit, we don't even have that anymore, because it was back when they were
might
just...
like to hear it,
Or they might hate me for putting it out.
That's true.
I don't know. I guess I just got to put it out and see what happens. They probably won't even know about it and not even care.
Right.
But their label might.
Right, yeah.
ASCAP
There's
might.
Yeah.
But
usually ownership things are different story, yeah.
It could even be such previously unreleased that there's no copyrights on it.
That could
Who
be
knows?
correct. Yeah, it could be songs that they had moved away from,
And I mean, I got tons of just stupid little demos like that. So yeah, you do got to start somewhere, and I would almost recommend, say, if you're trying to record your own stuff, maybe start out with some material that, I mean, you have to have written more than one song, right? I mean, you know that your first song you write's not going to be your biggest hit.
Right.
Start out with maybe a few songs. If you're just trying to get into recording, start out with some songs that aren't your best songs.
Right.
Like you like them, but you've got better shit.
Yeah.
And just try your hand out on that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's sort of how I got into video editing,
Mm-hmm.
is making some videos for stuff that I don't really care if it's going to be ultra awesome.
Right.
I just care that it's out.
Yeah. And I mean, the great thing about today is it's so readily available with so many different programs to edit music and video and animation, that I think, artists' canvas has changed a lot in this technology era, and I think, whether someone's going to do a lot with it or a little, or just have it as their own entertainment, I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to express yourself as an artist,
Right. If you're not doing it right now, if you are an artist or a musician and you're not putting out your own stuff, man, it's easier than you think.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just get into it. Just start looking up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just look up easiest DAW to use on whether you got Mac or PC or whatever.
Yep.
And just look up some tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah.
I am only saying this because I was that guy for the longest time.
I was too.
Up until just a few years
Before
ago,
there
I
was
felt
Google.
so fucking helpless. I've got all these great ideas and all this great music in my head, and I don't know how to get it out.
Yeah.
And now that it's just so fucking accessible, it's on you if you don't get it out yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's that easy nowadays.
Well, and the whole dynamic of the music industry has changed where
drastically.
You have to put out your first stuff,
Yeah.
You have to be the one that initiates it, because you're not going to get a development deal from a record label, and
right.
you're not, I mean, I think even nowadays you'll have a hard time finding a manager,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was kind of that way from the beginning too.
Right.
It's kind of always been that way.
Yeah.
It's just the way you do it
has
kind of changed.
Right. Well,
Unless
exactly.
you start out with a lot of money, like we were just talking about.
Right.
Which kind of leads us into our next subject that I feel like we could get off on a little bit more, maybe after this next song. Because, man, I want to talk shit on Metallica. I just love talking shit on Metallica. I'm sorry, folks. But if you listen to this show, then you've got to love shit being talked on Metallica. You got to love it. Or at least be indifferent.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure there's both.
You don't like Metallica, do you? Fuck.
I can respect Metallica, yeah.
Goddamn.
But I mean,
I
you
fucked
know.
up.
Yeah. No, I actually, ironically, the first show I ever saw was Metallica Master of Puppets.
At least it was Master of Puppets.
Yeah,
I mean,
with Cliff on the bass.
Oh God!
Yeah.
No shit.
They
You got to
opened-
see Cliff.
They opened for Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you can hate me
Yeah.
for fucking talking shit on Metallica.
But I didn't even know who Metallica was, and
then you
and-
have even more of a right to hate me. If
But-
you saw Metallica without knowing
Yeah.
who they were,
Yeah.
that's old school as
Yeah.
fuck.
It was a cool experience, you know. But I never was this big Metallica fan, but a lot of my friends were, but one thing I respect about Metallica is they just stood the test of time, and
That is true.
that's difficult.
And they still are.
And they still do it, you know, like that. I have a respect for people that whether they came from money or
Yeah.
they didn't, but if they have hundreds of millions of dollars and they're
And
still
fans.
and they're still doing it like that my hat's off to them, because
Yeah.
there's so many bands that come and they make all this money and they disappear or they break up or whatever it is. Or, you know, there's always the opposite of that. There's a lot of bands that don't make a lot of money and they break up and disappear, or they're still in the garage. you know?
Yeah. Bands that have been around forever
Yeah.
and never get big. There's
Right.
probably more of those than anything.
For sure.
No matter how
And I
awesome or
respect
shitty
those-
they might be.
I have a great respect for those guys too, because
Yeah.
staying in a band for long time is a difficult process, you know, like
Yeah, no matter how big you get
Yeah.
or how much money you make
yep,
or don't make,
make, yep.
staying in a band
Yep.
is one of the most underrated, I'm going to say careers
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
jobs,
Right.
because way too many people on this planet don't look at being a musician as a fucking job.
I think
Or
it's one
as
of the
a career. They look
Right.
at it as a hobby or
Yeah.
a talent, and
Yeah.
too many people think that talents can't be jobs or careers
yeah.
unless you're like a professional athlete or you're a huge rock star. And, I mean, they don't even know the line between Joe Schmo in his garage and major rock star like Metallica or AC/DC or whoever the fuck. They, of course, don't understand the immense area between that and the immense amount of work
Yeah.
that you have to do.
It's a lot
Not
of work.
like this just happens for you because you're that fucking talented and that fucking amazing.
Right. Usually a talent is developed, you know, like usually there's a lot of woodshed, you know, and there's a lot of listening to your favorite artists and then developing your own voice, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. But you know, like they said, if it's something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, but still you're doing that over and over and over and over and over and over. So
Right.
whether you call that work or fun, you know,
It's still time.
It's still
and time is money.
Yeah,
and time is work.
Right.
And if you compare work to time and you equate time to work
Yeah.
to money,
Yeah.
all the same sort of concept,
Yep.
then yes, it is kind of all the same snowball. Whether
Right.
you're enjoying it or not, whether you consider it work or not,
Yeah.
or whether you consider it time you put in or not.
Yep. And I'm sure even bands like Metallica, you know, that have gone for so long, there has to be times where they're not enjoying it, but they keep
yeah.
going, you know, they
Oh,
keep
yeah.
doing it. And you know, that brings me to the musician thing. Like, I think it's one of the greatest services to society is music and a musician. And
Yeah.
so when they will take that and they will go with it, with rich or poor, or they'll put in that time and that energy. Like, it's one of the greatest services to society, because could you imagine life without it? You know, like you know, these are like most of my heroes are musicians, which is odd to put the hero label on them, but
I don't think it is.
I
And
know.
I'm pretty sure that many people don't
Yeah.
think that a musician is an invalid hero. I think
Right.
that's a quite common thing.
yeah.
Just
And-
like it is a professional athlete or an
and
actor or a comedian or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that reach that those people get, I don't think any of them will ever understand like how they're affecting people's lives, you know. And so it's one of the greatest services to society that sometimes, whether you're getting millions or not, you don't even know how you're affecting someone, you know.
Right.
And so it's not even about the money, you know.
Right. But one thing that I guess I feel like is a little bit a part of the problem is, and I'm not trying to like criticize your grammar, but just the word service.
Right.
Society still seems to regard this as a fucking service.
Right.
And look, assholes,
Yeah.
we're not here to serve you.
Right.
We are working just as hard as you.
Yeah.
And I promise you that there's probably not another career choice you could make that will be overworked and more underpaid than even a fucking elementary school teacher. And I am saying that to all you elementary school teachers out there. You think you got it bad? Try being a professional musician with no fucking money starting from the ground up. You'll get paid less and you will work harder and nobody will respect you. Have fun. This is why nobody wants to be in a band anymore and everybody's doing podcasts now.
Well, hey, podcasts are what apparently people want to listen to.
I know. I'm in so many bands and ain't no one ever gave a fuck. Hey, all you listeners, what band am I in? Yeah, that's what I thought. You don't know, you don't care, but you're listening to this shit. Yeah, fuck my podcast. Listen to my band. Listen to the bands I fucking play on my podcast. Listen to Captain Dane-O. This guy puts his heart and his soul into not getting paid anything.
It's a labor of love.
You know, I got asked by a friend, why do you think musicians deserve to get paid? And I about smacked his fucking teeth out of his jaw. Why do professional athletes get paid as much as they do? And of course his answer is they don't. They're just playing a game. And I'm like, what, you think this is a game? Fuck you.
And
he's a journalist. I'm like, bitch, if I wanted to be a fucking journalist, I could get a paying job in about a week. I could start fucking saying, and he's got a degree. I could start saying, I got a fucking degree. I went to school. I want to be a journalist. You could start filling applications. You could start turning in resumes. Do you get to do that as a musician? Nope. Do you fill out a job application or turn in a resume as a musician? Who do you turn it into? Nobody. Who do you say, this is how much experience I've got? Nobody. You can't put anything, even if there was an application, all the stuff you put on it wouldn't matter anyway. I got 12 years of playing guitar. Yeah, so does like my dad. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean?
right.
I mean, and a lot of it is because there is this oversaturation of musicians who are doing it for fun and are not doing it as a career. And it is a hobby, and it is, quote unquote, a service that they are providing to the masses, and too many of the masses regard it as a service that people just produce all honky-dory out of the farts of their ass. And anyone could just do that. Why would I pay you to do that? That's like paying me to make fucking my signature, sweet rolls that I bring to every family reunion.
Hey, someone might buy those.
If you believed in yourself and if you had good enough sweet rolls.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's
you
it.
put as much time, thought, energy, and passion as one shitty little garage musician who never made it. Your sweet rolls would still be shit.
But someone would buy it.
And that's
Someone
why
would enjoy it.
nobody believes in you.
Segue into
You will
appropriately inappropriate.
We're trying to encourage you kids to get into your own recording and record your own shit, because there's probably more hope for you if you do. Now, career musician, good fucking luck, motherfucker. Start a podcast. and exploit all the musicians on your show. Oh, wait. So let's have another song, shall we? As life and learning tips for the aspiring musician on KWJUDAS. One of these episodes is going to get me shot or strangled or at least my ass kicked. What's the name of this next song?
Appropriately inappropriate.
I love this song. Appropriately inappropriate. You can totally get into this one. You can dance to this major club hit coming up. Appropriately inappropriate. KWJUDAS, Captain Dane-O. Thank you all for listening.
All these things we started that we wanted to do. Somewhere by the seaside, we were chasing the moon. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate. Tracks led us to the shelter where the green grass grew. In through the window of an abandoned coop. The shelter was a teller of the story, it's true. The closer we got, the more we knew. So we laughed and we danced in the heat of June. It began to bloom, the connection of two. Inappropriately we adjusted, feeling amused. Went to the room, laid by the moon. It all began and ended too soon.
Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate. Sunrise rose, we chose to go our separate ways. We knew what we know. I'll see you again. A voice was told. What happens then? No one would know. Days turned to weeks and months would go. A return to where the green grass grows. Awaiting your return, a memory flows. Look up through the dust, an image it shows.
Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate. Appropriately inappropriate.
Appropriately inappropriate.
Captain Dane-O here. It has been such a delight to have you.
Well, thank you.
We've been doing so much, like, off the mic talking that, goddamn, I wish we would have recorded. So that's why we just said, let's hit record. Because we're talking about, again, bands, other bands.
Oh, yeah.
And the music industry and what's wrong with it and what's right with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of got us leading to the band Primus.
Yeah.
Which, well, deserves a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
Because you've got, you know, we were talking about how that we got rock and then you got metal back in the 80s. And I think you started getting into music a little bit before I did. I'm not sure how old you are or I am, and we don't have to disclose that on the air. But when I really started paying attention to mainstream music, it was a little too late for me, man. I mean, Primus had already been very much established. Metallica had been around. The first Metallica song I heard was fucking Memory Remains. That was my first Metallica song. Now, that's off of Load.
Right.
That is how late I got on the Metallica thing.
Yeah, I could see why like someone might not like that stuff.
And I got to listen to their other shit too, and I listened to it, but I was just getting into things as, Metallica had been around for a while, and the three biggest bands in my school was Metallica, Pantera, and Primus.
Yeah.
So I got Metallica's Load, and I thought, it was Reload. Reload was what Memory Remains was on Reload, and I bought Load. So it didn't have that song on it. I listened to that album. I thought it was okay. My brother happened to buy Pantera's Live 101, and we both bought them at the same time just because we knew that the rest of our school fucking liked these bands. We never heard them on the radio. We were just like, okay, I guess we have to check them out if we want to be fucking cool, because just listening to like Hot 94.9 and saying I like Blackstreet doesn't quite cut it anymore. And Weird Al sure as hell wasn't cutting it anymore. So, yeah, we had to get cool. Because back then, kids, Weird Al was not cool yet. Now, oh, fuck. I'm jealous of you kids. If you say you like Weird Al, I mean, the worst they'll say is, my parents listened to Weird Al. But they said that when I was a kid. They probably said that when my parents were a kid.
Right.
You want to talk about withstanding the test of time. Fucking, Weird Al.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting off the subject. We had Metallica, we had Pantera, we had Primus.
Yeah.
I heard Pantera, and I was immediately like, this is going to piss my parents off way more than Metallica's fucking Load. And so, I play that shit loud, and my parents are pissed. And then I come across Primus's Pork Soda in a used CD shop, and I just bought it without listening to it, assuming it's going to be another heavy metal band. And well, you've heard that album.
Yeah.
How similar is that to Metallica's Load and fucking Pantera's Live 101?
Not at all.
It's a complete opposite. Not even an opposite. It's not even the same fucking galaxy. And I was just mind blown. I was like, this isn't what? How did you? With every song that played, I was waiting for the metal. And when the metal never happened, but the weirdness kept happening, the more I was like, this is not what I wanted. But I love it.
Yeah.
More and more and more. And by the time we got to DMV, about halfway through that album, I been the hell I spent a DMV, and you just, this is psychosis. This is not heavy. This is not anger. This is just demented. It's just psycho. I like the fucking crazy without it being metal. And that is when I was finally like, all right, this clicks. And the more Primus I bought, the more I was like, it's nuts. It's psychotic, but it's not metal.
Right.
And the more heavy you can be, no matter what genre you are, anything from classical to country, you can still get heavy.
Yeah.
There is still
for sure.
very heavy classical music.
Yeah, I would say
don't
like
have to be
Beethoven
metal
was pretty heavy.
Yeah, Beethoven dropped some heavy shit. He was one of the first to drop some heavy shit.
He was serious.
You got Mahler had some heavy shit. Prokofiev.
Right.
Prokofiev. Shlongbabanov. The classical artists were the originators of fucking heavy.
Sure. You get like 100-piece orchestra playing the same chord.
Yeah, just some of that shit. And there are even metal bands who have acknowledged that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they throw in little excerpts. Man, one of the greatest is, in my opinion, Necrophagist. That guy even throws nods to guys like Prokofiev and Beethoven, and will throw some of their shit in his death metal riffs. You know, like I do a terrible job at representing it. Just look it up. But on the Primus note, you were bringing up how you accidentally saw them and you didn't even know who the fuck they were.
No, I mean, I went to see this band called 24/7 Spies at the Speedway Cafe. Do you remember that place?
That's a long band name.
Well, the 24/7 Spies.
Oh, well, that's still a
They-
long band name.
Yeah, they played at a place called the Speedway Cafe,
Okay.
and it was it was an all ages place, which was really cool. And
The Salt Lake?
it was in Salt Lake, yeah,
Word.
actually right down by Positively Fourth, actually just like
Ah.
2 buildings down the street. But it's closed down now.
Yeah.
They didn't like what
Is
was
the
happening.
building still there?
The building's still there. I think it's like
So what?
laundry detergent or something is what they manufacture there now. But
All
it
right,
was
kids.
this-
The
it
old
was-
laundry detergent building used to be a Primus show.
yeah, or well, it was an all ages venue. It was one of the coolest in Salt Lake. And,
That sounds awesome. About what year was this?
1990.
Word.
Yeah, and
What was the name of this band? I never heard it.
24/7 Spies. They were like kind of like a heavy Chili Peppers. They were from New York.
Word.
They had a really cool couple albums.
I had to
And
look that up.
yeah, and I went to see them, and it was like $7 is all. And
Hell yeah.
and this weird band was opening for him called Primus, and I had never heard of them. And they were playing, and I was so confused. I just didn't understand what they were doing.
That's
And-
why they're so great.
and so this is what's crazy about the Metallica segue, dude, is like there was like maybe 300 people in the whole place, and like a good 200 of them down front were like freaking out, singing along, and I'm like, how does anyone know who these guys are? And they got done playing, and they left, and they got an encore. They came back on, and they played their version of Master of Puppets. Have you ever heard that?
yes.
Yeah. It's like
Uh-huh.
57 seconds long. And they played that and put down their instruments and walked off stage, and everyone in that whole building just erupted. It was intense. Like they won me over in 57 seconds, and it was because they finally played something I could comprehend.
Right.
And the next week, my buddy got the Frizzle Fry album, because that's one that
Yeah,
it was
it's
to
like
the
their first.
yeah, and I couldn't stop listening to it. It
It's
was
still to this
oh,
day
yeah,
one of my favorite
Yeah.
fucking albums.
yeah. And so I've been a Primus fan ever since the 57 seconds.
If you haven't been able to tell, this guy is somewhat of a bass player. Unfortunately, you can't really see his instrument. What do you even call that fucking thing?
It's called an 8-string hybrid. It has.
Did you
3
make it yourself?
No. I wish I was talented at making instruments, but
So what is the story behind that?
that's actually a quite big story. If you Googled a guy named Charlie Hunter, you could get more of the background. He's this crazy jazz player, and he went to a guy named Ralph Novak's in the late 80s and had the idea of adding bass strings to the top of a guitar, and it started out as a 7-string.
So he is
and
the
then-
first one to do that?
Yeah, it was his idea, and he went to a guitar builder named Ralph Novak's,
Word.
and I was fortunate enough to get a Novak's guitar.
How did you even know about this?
A
or
friend
find
of
out about
mine, I was in a band playing guitar, and a friend of mine told me there's this guy that plays this 8-string. He's playing bass and guitar at the same time. I was like, that's
Right.
impossible,
Huh.
And I heard his album. It's like pretty jazzy.
Who was that?
It was Charlie Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's pretty jazzy, and I'm listening to this album, and I'm like trying to dissect the bass and guitar parts, and I'm like, there's no way this guy is playing this simultaneously,
Right.
and then like a year later he came to Salt Lake, and I saw him, and it was just him and I think 2 drummers. And
No
yeah,
shit.
oh dude, it was just the coolest thing I couldn't stop just staring at his hands, and straight up he's playing bass and guitar simultaneously, like way
All on the same fretboard.
yeah, way better
Nice.
than what I do on the same instrument. And but it was funny because that night I went home after seeing the show. It's like 2 a.m, and I picked up my 6-string and I started playing with my fingers, because at that time I usually used a pick. And
Right.
I started trying to figure out what he was doing to do that, to separate the. But the funny thing is as time went on, there's guys like that Atkins guy, Chet Atkins, and
Right.
and I'm pretty sure that was his influences, to where you run the bass lines with your thumb and then you got your fingers doing the other stuff. And and what he did was he just came to a guitar builder with the idea of making an instrument that would actually be bass and guitar. And so and the Novex guy created something just miraculous. It has separate bass pickups and separate guitar pickups and separate outputs. So you're going to a bass amp.
Oh, you even get different outputs?
Yeah, you're going to a bass amp and a guitar amp, and so you're getting these very distinct
Does
sounds.
it have 2 different jacks?
Yeah, 2 different.
No
yeah,
shit.
2 different outputs, 2 different sets of pickups.
That's way cool.
Oh,
That's way fucking cool.
So the funny thing is, like
I
I
did
said,
not realize that.
yeah, like I can't play it like Charlie's to this day. And
So yours has that feature too?
yes, yeah. It's
Awesome.
it's the same instrument.
That's so fucking
Yeah,
rad.
yeah.
I never knew that about that.
Yeah, and so and it's really cool because you're getting those very distinct separation of sounds, and I had played guitar for 12 years before I picked that thing up, and even though it was a monster of an instrument, it was so like, I hate to say enlightening, but it was so like liberating, but confining. It was because you couldn't just go play a guitar solo or something, like if you wanted to have all the spectrum, and so it was very confining and restricting, but at the same time you were getting all this frequency spectrum, to where you didn't care that you couldn't do this crazy guitar solo, because you had like these bass tones that were filling up the room, and then you could express it yourself like on the guitar end as well simultaneously. Like it was very liberating and like enlightening, at the same time confining and restrictive. But so it was almost like yin and yang, like it was to this day I think out of all the instruments and what I've done musically, like it's the most it's just like something that I wouldn't trade for anything, to be able to kind of play that instrument. Like whether I was playing that instrument as a project or whatever, if I was like a guitar player in another band, I would still go home and play that instrument, because it's one of those things that like I can't not play,
Right. That kind of answers the question I was about to ask as to, like, would you ever go back?
I do play 6-string all the time, especially
so
acoustic.
You still didn't just give up guitar.
Right, no. And a lot of that you'll take a lot of that with you into the 8-string world. And the funny thing is for the longest time I was thinking about being a bass player before I ever picked up the guitar.
That was my other question.
Yeah.
Is
And
you didn't play bass before you picked this new instrument.
I dinked around on bass, like because this rehearsal space, which was a garage that I lived in, like, and all the band equipment was there.
Word.
But my friend that got me into music, he was a much better bass player than I probably even am today, and so he wanted to play bass, so he played bass and I picked up the guitar, and but his bass was there, and when I was sitting around at night with nothing to do, a lot of the times I would pick up the bass because I love the bass, like that deep. It's interesting too. I think the bass is probably one of those instruments that can be a solo instrument more so than like a guitar.
I think so, but the rest of the world doesn't seem to.
Right. But it was always I loved playing the bass, and I always big fans of like Les and I just love those deeper tones, and so I always resonated with the bass. So that was another nice thing about the 8-string, was it gave me both of those worlds. Because I got into the guitar almost reluctantly, because I did want to be a bass player.
Yeah.
But the guitar, there was an available spot for guitar in the band, which I don't know if I filled those shoes too well at the time.
But it gets you started.
But it got me started, and then I fell in love with the guitar.
Yeah.
And so and then I put a lot of time into guitar and had a lot of fun in that band, and got a lot of experience from some very talented musicians I played with.
Do you have any recordings from that band?
I probably could dig up some stuff. We were actually called Sasquatch.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Okay, you've got to, dude. I mean, that's probably already a band, but I don't care. Like I already wanted to hear this, but I don't care. Now I have to.
Yeah, I'll try to dig up some stuff. It's when I first started recording, I was recording that band.
If you have any Sasquatch footage,
Well, I doubt we had footage because back then it was almost hard to get cameras and stuff. And
I definitely get you.
and we were.
But we want Sasquatch footage, live, authentic Sasquatch footage here on KWJUDAS. I would I'd pay money for it. Let me look at my.
You know what? Actually, I might have some video footage of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I put out a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel,
All
and
right.
like especially when it's local bands, I want local bands that don't exist anymore. Stuff that you can't find anywhere else.
Right.
So yeah, if you've got any stuff that
All right.
could be recovered and
Yeah.
you want to put it out, that's
could
what I'm all
probably
about.
dig up some stuff. And that was a great experience. I think, like it was something that I wanted to do and fell in love with making and performing music and was very fortunate enough to play with some very talented musicians. And
That helps.
and I wasn't that talented.
Kind of puts the pressure on.
Yeah,
and like makes you up your game.
Yeah, exactly.
Automatically.
But the funny thing was, as time went on, people have different routes in life and stuff, and I didn't want to stop, and it was just about the same time I got that 8-string, and
Word.
so it became kind of a woodshed project. But what was interesting in that same band, we had started getting into turntables and stuff as like an effect, or we'd play over a beat or something like that. And my old bass player's name's Jeff. He would DJ sometimes, and I would DJ sometimes, and
That's cool.
it was really cool. It brought a very dynamic perspective to a trio.
Hell
and,
yeah. Especially if you both go back and forth.
Yep. And it was something I actually kind of grew to love as well, the whole DJing thing, especially as an effect and like the scratching and stuff.
Do you still do that? Scratching?
Oh yeah.
Word. I want
Yeah.
to see some of that shit too.
I've actually, over time I've become better at it, which you would want to accomplish, but I've also fallen in love with that as a skill and an art form and like kind of as an instrument,
Yeah, for sure.
And what was interesting was that those two things kind of blended, because I was mainly the singer for a lot of my early music ventures. Like I actually started in a 4-piece.
And you're playing
just
your
as a
instrument
singer,
at the same time?
just as a singer.
Oh, just sing.
And then there was guitar, bass, and drums, and then I went and started. We became a trio, and I was a guitar singer, and so like what was interesting, I was a singer the whole process, and then the turntables and the 8-string, I started using the turntables to play old recordings of the drummer I had been playing with,
That's
and to kind of rehearse on
Word.
the 8-string, and then I started singing along as well, and it just became what
That's
I'm
how
doing
you
now.
became a soloist.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So one last question about the 8-string before we get into the next song. I think that a lot of people, when they hear 8-string guitar, they think of like the 8-string guitar that
Yeah.
gets used a lot in like gent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah.
Which basically you just drop down a guitar
Uh-huh.
to one more,
Yeah.
5th string. You're not doing that though.
No. This is
what you
would
have
be
is a
considered-
bass.
Yeah, it's called a 8-string hybrid.
So
you're-
what are
it's-
the other 4 strings? You've got the 4 strings that a bass has.
No, it's just 3 of the bass. So it's
So just 3.
EAD of the bass,
Right.
going from the the lowest to the highest, and then from the lowest guitar string to the highest it's A, D, G, B, E. So you lose like the highest bass string,
you lose the G string,
G, and then it marries up right with, and then you lose the bottom E on the guitar.
Oh,
and
man,
so
that would fuck with me.
It's really cool because
I use both those strings a lot.
Right. Oh, yeah. Coming from like a 6-string world, you the E string, to lose the E string was like almost devastating.
Well, also as a bass, to lose the G.
Right, yeah.
And to have that now be the
Yep.
the E of a
Yeah.
guitar, especially when if I'm playing guitar, I hate to say it, generally I use drop D, so that
Right.
would fuck with it
Well,
even more.
so that's what's cool actually, because that D on the bass
Still works?
is the almost the exact same octave as you would get from a drop D guitar.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And you could
It-
essentially tune the E on the bass string
to
down
the
to a D, which
yeah.
I do a lot
And
when
then
I'm
you'd
playing
get
bass.
D, A, D, A, D.
Yeah.
So you could do
you
some
make that
crazy
work.
tunings like, and actually that Charlie Hunter guy does crazy tunings. And,
I could
and
see
he,
that.
I think he plays in
Still ludicrous.
yeah, but it was when I saw him, that was one of those things that I almost just couldn't believe, and
Right.
so I had to like go try it. I had the 6-string, and I knew kind of the tuning he used, and I was trying to differentiate between what you would do with the bass and the guitar long before I ever got the 8-string. And so that was what was kind of cool, is because I was wrapping my head around the concept before I ever got the 8-string.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably not only helped, but also like convinced you.
Yeah.
All right, this is what I have to do next.
Yeah, I needed it, and I still do. Like that
Word.
thing, even if something was to come up and my music career was to go in a different direction, like I would play that thing as often as I could, because it's almost like a religious experience to me, for lack of a better term. Like it's something that is like it's like spiritual, like because you have this spectrum of frequency to work with. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost unreal. Yeah.
I get you.
And especially when you go through like effects, like because you can go through separate bass effects and go through guitar effects, and what is nice too is having the turntables to work with, because that really holds down a lot of the fort to where I can go straight bass or straight guitar, or throw some delay on the guitar so I don't have to work as much up there and focus on the bass. And so it is just a joy to play that thing.
Word.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into another song here. Another song here. Don't Let Go. Captain Dane-O, KWJUDAS. Thank you all so much for listening. We truly adore you, folks. Go home and jerk yourselves off profusely. KWJUDAS. Free Radio Provo.
Where
go fucking rap for it. Yeah, don't want your mother pretending to be Magellan all the time. And another thing, I am sick and tired of DURPENSHLEE.
But Dad, I'm your only redheaded stepchild.
Are you kidding me? Again with the DURPENSHLEE. I swear, can't plug it, you best be good Sorry, kid. I didn't know your dad was not only your father, but also the president and CEO of DURPENSHLEE.
Oh, yeah, he's really pissed. We basically got 5 to come up with a good DURPENSHLEE commercial, or my dad's gonna skin us both halfway, braid our skin together, and leave us both to dry in the West Desert. Just like Grandma.
You mean like he did to Grandma, or like your grandma also does in the desert?
No, well,
And when you say 5, do you mean like 5 days, 5 hours, or 5 minutes?
5 seconds.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Pedro, the pedantic prairie dog.
Hey kids, I'm Pedro, the pedantic prairie dog. Have you been paying attention to the details lately? See ya!
Prairie dog? Pedantic? What the hell does that word even mean? It's kind of like, get him out of my sight! Bring out that DURPENSHLEE prairie dog, Maida Moida. Oh, dearest, no, not the DURPENSHLEE prairie dog, Moida Moida.
No, Dad, you've completely lost your pretzels.
Send them pesky pedantic prairie dogs up into the air with DURPENSHLEE's new prairie dog, Maida and Moida. Plenty of my DURPENSHLEE. And remember, if it doesn't say DURPEN, it's not DURPENSHLEE. Hey, Captain Dane-O. What do you call an elephant from California?
A Republican?
It's a elephant. I was just thinking about that while I was peeing. Hey, Captain Dane-O. What do you call a lot of elephants from California?
A hell of a lot of elephant.
No, you're going to love this. Ready? A hellafidazafant. Okay, I'm laughing too hard at my own joke. I was peeing. It was funny while I peed. I got urine all over the toilet seat. I had a good chuckle. Anyways, we don't have much time, so we're just going to go into the next song. This next song is called Love. Here on KWJUDAS. Free Radio Provo with Captain Dane-O. All right, that was Captain Dane-O here on KWJUDAS. We're just going to go into one last little instrumental outro. But before we do, would you please remind our listeners where the best place to find your music would be online or anywhere else? And if you've got any new projects or anything you want to plug right now, it is the time to do it.
Yeah, go to CaptainDano.com and you can find me on the socials, Facebook and Instagram. I've been recording a new album, so that should be out hopefully soon. And I drop little videos here and there on socials and YouTube and whatnot. So
look up Captain Dane-O.
On the website, it's just DANEO, no hyphen.
DANEO.
Yep, CaptainDano.com.
All right, you heard the man, folks. Go and look up DANEO. And Dane-O was his name-o. Anywhere on social media, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Ask Jeeves. Is that still a thing?
I'm sure he's still around.
Is Jeeves. If not, then we need to let
Jeeves
Jeeves.
was the OG.
Somebody notify Jeeves. There is a fucking Captain Dane-O, and he is here to stay. You got that, Jeeves? All right, here it is. Our finale for the night is an instrumental so all of y'all can get down, get funky, get live, and get Dane-O'd.
we'd like to thank you all for joining us in another exciting episode of KWJUDAS on Free Radio Provo. We now return you back to our regularly scheduled free radio programming.